Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
Court does call the case. People State of Michigan versus Joseph Taylor.
Prosecuting attorney working below us on behalf of the people. Joining senior health defendant within our behalf of the city.
All right, date and time set for preliminary examination. Are we ready to proceed?
Yes, right.
All right. May call your first witness.
At this time, Your Honor, the people will call Officer. I'm so sorry, I butchered the pronunciation. Barbara.
All right, sir, please come forward to be sworn.
We take a seat, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
My name is Thomas Fauber, THOMAS, last Fauber after the rank Victor DR.
May proceed.
Thank you so much for being here. Can you tell me what you do for a living?
Starting with the NR.
And how long have you been employed there?
6 years.
I'd like to direct your attention to June 9th, 2024. Were you working that day?
I was.
What shift?
I am the midnight patrol sergeant.
And were you in uniform?
I was.
Were you on that day, were you dispatched to the area of South First Street in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Washtenaw County?
Yes.
And can you tell me what the nature of that dispatch was?
It was an assault complaint.
Did you happen to arrive on scene?
Yes. That was the first one.
And what did you do when you arrived?
When I arrived at the white female at northeast corner of First and Huron, the female had blood coming from her mouth and was seated on the sidewalk in that area. So I made contact with them.
And do you happen to know her name?
Her name is Tina Hansen.
And do you know the name of the other individual who was there that you interacted with?
Joseph Taylor.
If you saw Joseph Taylor today, would you recognize him?
I would.
Is he in the courtroom now?
He is.
Can you briefly identify something he's wearing and where he's sitting?
He's sitting at the desk here. He's wearing white long sleeves and a green jumpsuit.
Your Honor, please let the record reflect that the witness has made an in-court identification of the defendant.
That objection record shall so reflect.
Did you happen to conduct an investigation into what happened?
I did.
Can you tell me about that investigation?
Yes, I first started speaking with the victim, Ms. Hansen, trying to find out what had occurred. She had initially told me that she was intoxicated and fell. At one point, I pulled Mr. Taylor aside to ask him what his recollection of what happened was. And he stated that he came across her on the ground and was attempting to assist her.
Did Mr. Taylor indicate to you that he knew Ms. Hansen at all prior to this?
Yes, he said they've been together for a few months.
Okay. Did he say anything about what the nature of their relationship was?
I know just that they met on Facebook and that they've been together. He indicated that this was a random meeting, that he had just come across her today on the sidewalk, that they had not been together prior to us locating them.
You mean physically together in the same
Yes.
space? Okay. Other than talking to Ms. Hansen and Mr. Taylor, did you happen to conduct any other investigation regarding this incident?
Yes, one of our other officers was able to view surveillance from the live nightclub. I did not retrieve that, but I did view it on Officer Betts's phone. And that was what led us to make the arrest that night.
One moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Really quick, I believe I said you were dispatched to the area of South First Street. Do you happen to know where this incident occurred exactly for Mr.?
So it started at Live nightclub, which is on First Street, just south of Huron. They went north up the sidewalk where there was some pushing back and forth, and then the major assault occurred at the northeast corner of First and Ashley, or sorry, First and Huron.
Okay. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
At first in Huron,
Correct.
you're indicating. Okay. All right. Cross-examination.
Mr. Father or Deputy Father, is that correct?
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
I'm so sorry. So you indicated that at the time you arrived, you found Mr. Taylor and Miss Hanson at the corner. Did you say at First and Huron?
Yes.
Would I be correct in saying that you did not observe any physical interaction when you saw them?
There was no physical interaction.
Now, you stated that Miss Hanson you said that you observed some sort of blood or something on Miss Hanson's face, is that right?
Yeah, she was spitting up large puddles of blood.
And she indicated that she had fallen, is that right? Would I be correct in stating that that Miss Hanson was intoxicated?
I believe that she was.
Would I be correct in stating that that at the time you described her as highly intoxicated?
I don't know her level of intoxication.
In terms of what you observed, would that be correct?
She was seated the majority of the time, so I don't have her walking. And she had a laceration to the inside of her mouth, so I don't know if I can indicate her ability to speak as part of some of my normal indicators.
And in terms of your investigation with the part of your investigation that you did with Ms. Hanson, at no time did she indicate that she had been hit. Is that correct?
She made no statements that she had been hit, no.
And in fact, she said she hadn't been hit. Is that correct?
She told me that she fell.
Would I be correct in stating that at that time you described Ms. Hanson as being uncooperative?
Yes,
Uncooperative and intoxicated?
yes.
Now, you just indicated that you saw some video footage on someone's phone. Is that correct?
Correct.
When did you view this footage?
It was after myself and Officer Betts had placed Mr. Taylor under arrest.
And when you say after, are you speaking of that same day or are you speaking a few
Yeah.
days later?
It was all during the same time frame that we were investigating the incident.
And you all had already placed Mr. Taylor under arrest? Did you say
When
that?
I viewed the video, yes. Officer Betts had already viewed it prior to that. He came out and indicated to me that we would be arresting Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. And in terms of the video that you saw, did you see one video, two videos? How did that work?
There was a video from inside the nightclub. I viewed that briefly, but the majority of what I watched was their interactions outside. I don't recall if it was more than one camera view. I don't recall that.
So in terms of the video that you watched the majority of, is that the one that you were describing, the outside video?
Yes.
In terms of the video that you saw, would I be correct in saying that there was no sound?
Not that would indicate their interactions. I don't know if it had sound from people right next to the camera or not.
So you were not able to hear anything with regard to their interactions? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And would I be also correct in saying that you did not actually observe what happened outside of live? Is that correct?
Correct.
So in terms of what you described, or pardon me, in terms of what you saw on the camera, you cannot say whether it was a fair and accurate representation of what occurred that day. Is that right?
Okay, I don't understand your question.
So I'll rephrase. I'll rephrase. Would you agree that there are occasions when a picture or video does not indicate the full context of what is occurring?
I'm sure that does occur at times, yes.
And sometimes that's because of the angle is not enough to see everything that happened, correct?
There could be a number of reasons.
So there could be a number of reasons. One of them that the angle is not enough. Is that right?
Potentially.
Sometimes it could be because the view is obscured, so you can't see everything. Is that correct?
That could happen.
And sometimes it could be because what's being said is a huge part of the context. Isn't that correct?
I'm sure in certain cases it could be.
Now, you indicated that there was a second major, what you saw was a second major altercation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Would I be correct in stating that after what you stated you observed there, that altercation, you did not see any blood dripping or come on her face or coming out of her mouth?
The camera was too far and not clear enough to see that, whatever the injury was that was sustained.
Or even if there was an injury, is that correct?
So the video, would you like me to explain what I observed on the video, or?
No, I'd like for you to answer my question, which is that, just to be
I did
clear.
not see the injury occur based on the video, or I can't confirm that the injury occurred based on what I could see of her face.
And the reason you said is because it was not, her face was not clear, is that correct?
The camera was too far away.
The camera was too far away to see her face clearly, is that what you're
To
saying?
see if she was bleeding at that time.
So you're stating you could see her face, but you could not see any blood?
So for the location where the incident occurred and where they were at, they were still clearly in camera view. The video is too far away for me to be able to say that an injury occurred as a result of what I viewed happen. The injury was observed by myself when I got on scene.
And at that point, they were not in front of Live, is that right?
No, they were at the northeast corner of Ashley and Huron, which is
So they were at Ashley at Huron, not First and Huron? I just want to make sure I have the right place.
first in Huron.
Okay.
They were first in Huron, which is kitty corner from the bar.
Okay. All right. And you also could not hear what was being said, is that right? Aaron, could I have one moment, please?
Yes, you may.
Those were my questions, thank you.
Very briefly, the two individuals you're referring to in the video were Tina Hansen and Joseph Taylor.
Correct.
Were they wearing the same clothes as when you interacted with them?
Yes.
And it's your understanding that that video was from the late evening of June 9th into the early morning hours of June 10th?
Yes, it had them from inside the bar, walking out of the bar, and then making it to the location where what I'm describing occurred.
Thank you.
I would ask for some foundation as to how he knew it was from that time frame and not a different day or later.
Go ahead.
How did you know that it was from that time frame?
Again, I wasn't the first one that viewed the video. That may be better served to the officer that actually viewed it, but they were wearing the same attire And as far as my understanding of the camera systems go, they were able to observe them from their seated position, get up, walk out of the bar, and continue to follow them down the street from different camera angles that they have out there.
Nothing further.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right, Sergeant, thank you.
So people would call Layla Ball.
Please come forward and be sworn.
You take a seat, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Go ahead, have a seat. State and spell your first and last name for the record.
Layla Ball.
All right, you may inquire.
Thanks for being here, Miss Ball. Can you tell me what you do for a living?
I work for the Watershed Group. I'm a general manager. We own Live and Lasper.
And can you tell me the address for Live Nightclub if you happen to know it?
It's 301 West Huron Street.
Okay. Is that at the corner intersection with First Street?
Yeah.
Okay. And in that, can you tell me what you do? Just a little bit about what your role is in that capacity?
I oversee the last part downstairs, but I also help out in the club with Mike, the general manager upstairs. I do all the scheduling, I do ordering, I run the place.
And is in that capacity, do you have access to surveillance footage?
I do.
In your capacity with Live Nightclub, were you contacted by Ann Arbor Police by an officer there related to an incident that occurred on June 9th of 2024? And can you tell me what was asked of you by that officer?
They had just asked me to send them any video footage from the incident.
And did you do that?
I did.
And when you say the incident, can you tell me what your understanding of that was?
Objection.
What's the objection?
I would object, trying to, I had already moved on to my next stuff, but I would agree that she said that what was requested with regard to this matter.
Okay, not sure of that objection. It's overruled. You may go ahead.
So you did provide Ann Arbor Police with a video?
I did.
And did we review, oh, I'm sorry, was that one video, two videos, or more?
It was 2 videos.
Did we happen to review those videos together before court today?
Yes.
And did you recognize the 2 videos that I showed you today?
Yeah,
Were those the 2 videos that you provided to Ann Arbor Police?
correct.
Were those videos from the late night of June 9th into the early morning hours of June 10th, 2024 from Live Nightclub?
Yes.
Were those a fair and accurate representation of the videos that you provided to Ann Arbor Police?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. If the video is supposed to be a fair and accurate, or the video or photo or whatever is being presented is supposed to be a fair and accurate representation of what occurred, not a fair and accurate representation of the video that you gave someone else. So let me, and I want to say this again. So for example, if the testimony that's coming out is about what a flower looked like, and a photo taken of the flower by me, then I pass it along to another person, who then passes it along to a third person, to say that it's a fair, for the second person to say that the photo is a fair and accurate representation of the photo that they have is not relevant. What is actually relevant is whether it's a fair and accurate representation of the flower. And my argument is that that is not relevant if it's a fair and accurate representation. The only thing she can testify to in order to authenticate the video is whether or not it was a fair and accurate representation of what occurred that evening.
Well,
And if
those
she
two
followed
separate,
her,
those are two separate things,
I,
aren't they?
I think that both of them are important. But particularly, a person cannot say that the video that is here today is a fair and accurate representation of the video that I had, because it's not supposed to be a fair and accurate representation of the video. It's supposed to be a fair and accurate representation of the time, of the place, of the occurrences, of what.
Those are different things, though, aren't they?
I am saying that they are two different things, and I'm saying one of them does not establish what is necessary for the video to be admissible, which is whether or not the video.
Well,
today-
but I don't think that it is asked, I wasn't asked to have it admitted. I mean, the question that's asked is basically, is that video a fair and accurate representation of the video that was provided? That's what was asked. That, I think, is a relevant question because there are copies of the video. There may then next be a question as to whether or not the video that's there is a fair and accurate representation of what occurred. Separate question.
Thank you.
Objection's overruled. Go ahead.
Was that a fair and accurate representation of the video that you provided to Ann Arbor Police?
Correct, the video that you showed me, is the video that I sent to.
Yeah, that's.
You didn't observe any manipulation or editing of the video?
No, when I was recording the video, I manipulated it and zoomed forward in the video to where, the people involved were back on the screen. Because there were some periods where they were out in different parts of the club that doesn't have video access, so I did zoom forward in the parts that they weren't in it, just, for our guests, like privacy and stuff like that. I didn't think that all of that really was necessary, so I just zoomed throughout the video into the parts where they are in the camera.
Okay. And as far as the capabilities of your surveillance videos, is it just video? Is there sound included?
There's not audio that I'm aware of.
Okay. And of the videos that we reviewed prior to you testifying today, was that taking place within Live Nightclub, to the best of your knowledge?
The beginning, the first video that I sent, correct, was inside of like the nightclub. The second video that I had sent was, on the outside.
And when you say outside, was that right outside the door or somewhere else?
Part of it was right in front of the building by the windows, by the front door. Part of it, part of the video is like angled, because I can angle the camera. Is like kitty corner almost across the street.
Okay. And as far as your knowledge of the space and your knowledge of the space that evening, is that a fair and accurate representation of the environment of Live Nightclub, both inside and outside, from June 9th into the early morning hours of June 10th, 2024?
Correct, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would ask to move to admit people's proposed exhibits 1 and 2, which are the 2 videos in question.
Your Honor, I would object to the admission based on the statement that they are a fair and accurate representation of what the nightclub looked like. What the nightclub looked like is not relevant. What is relevant is what happened. And if she is able to say that she saw what happened, if she did not see what happened, then how could she say that the video was a fair and accurate representation? And there's been no testimony as to that, so I object to the admission.
Your Honor, she's familiar with what the nightclub looked like on that evening. She works there. She had access to the surveillance footage. She testified that these are the videos from that evening. I think that I've laid the necessary foundation. She has also testified that it's a fair and accurate representation, both of the videos she provided and of the nightclub from that night. I think that we've ticked all of the boxes here.
Yeah, we'll do it, please.
Pardon?
Yeah, we'll do it.
What did?
Ms. Paul, did you have an opportunity to see the incidents that are alleged to have happened that brought us here today?
While it's taking place.
Yes, were you outside and able to see what occurred?
For a part of it, yes. The other portion, I was in the office watching the live feed, on the phone and trying to make sure that all of my security guards were where they needed to be.
Would I be correct and say, well, when you say that you saw a portion of it, did you see the portion inside or outside the building where you were physically present? That's what I'm trying to ask.
I'm sorry.
In terms of being physically present to view with your eyes what occurred, was that inside the building or outside the building?
A portion of it was inside, and then a portion of it was outside. I was kind of moving throughout the building and then went back inside to the office and watched the live feed as Mike, the other general manager, walked outside.
And I just want to, just for clarity, because the place is live, I just want to make sure that when you say live feed, you're not, that you're saying that you saw it as it was occurring, or are you saying that it was the feed for the live
No, I seen it
organization?
as it was occurring. Like I went back into the office, I seen a portion of it outside that I realized that the security guards were handling it at first, and then I went back into my office and I sat down and I had pulled up the live feed and was watching what was happening.
In terms of the part that you were actually physically there to observe outside, would I be correct in stating that Mr. Taylor was having some issues, pardon me, that the based on what you're saying, that was during the time that security was leading Mr. Taylor and Ms. Hanson out of the building? Is that when you observed?
I mean, it was a lot of back and forth. They had traveled to the end of where the building ends and back and forth and back and forth. So it was not really leaving outside the building. It was kind of just everyone was corralled outside the building.
So what you saw was at a point when they were outside the building, is that?
Correct.
And would I be correct in?
I seen when it started.
Would I be correct in stating that outside the building, that several times Mr. Taylor asked Ms. Hanson to leave him alone?
I did not.
Would I be correct in saying several times that he asked for her to go away or stop, get out of his space?
I personally did not.
And about how long would you say you were outside?
Probably maybe like 2 or 3 minutes.
And you said that you manipulated the camera in terms of zooming it forward. So would I be correct in stating then that the time frame that we're watching on the 2 videos total is shorter than the time frame that that they actually occurred in?
Because there was parts where I moved forward because they were, well, it wasn't shorter because they were out of view of the camera. So we have multiple cameras in our building. So if they stepped out of the view of the camera, because I know it kind of went on for a little while, it was a very back and forth thing, and When they stepped out of the view of the camera, I like zoomed forward through those parts where they weren't present in the camera's view because just for the privacy of our customers.
Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to figure out is when I'm watching the video, if I were watching the video, would it be the length of time of it, yes, or would it be a shorter period of time?
It wouldn't have been a shorter period of time because, that's just the periods of time that camera had captured of them being in view of that camera. They would have still been in the area, just not on that camera.
And are you saying then that we see the same time that during the timeframes they were out of the camera that we see?
I
Oh.
don't object. At this point, it's voir dire. This is
Okay.
not cross.
Well, overruled. Let's just try to cut through this.
Okay.
You have different camera views. Is that correct, Ms. Ball?
Correct.
And so what you're really indicating is that the reason it's not shorter or longer is because segment A, I'll call it, is a view, say, from camera 1 of what's occurring. Then you might go to camera 2, and that would be segment B, which is just a continuation of what you saw in A. Is that kind of how it's
So
working?
I may have misunderstood you. So because I zoomed forward, if anything, yes, I guess the video is shorter than the actual time frame of the full incident, correct? I guess I didn't understand.
That's okay, that's okay.
So it is shorter.
The video itself, yes, it's like a 5-minute video and it was a longer incident than that.
Got it. But
There
you
were
just
times when they were
moved,
in different parts.
right, but you just moved through that view, whatever view you have.
Yeah, I just forwarded
Until they were back in the
of
view of the camera.
camera.
Got it. Okay, now that makes sense to me. Anything else on this?
No, those
All
are
right.
the questions. Your Honor, I object to the admission of the video. I do not believe that it is given the testimony that in terms of the video, there are times when they are not on the camera and you cannot see what happened or what they were doing. I would say that it is not a fair and accurate representation of that evening, that it is specific moments and
but
it
it's a
is
fair-
not
But
complete.
hold on a second. There's going to be a difference, Ms. Gaines, as to whether or not it's a fair and accurate representation of what the camera caught. If you're arguing that something else may have happened, that's different, isn't it?
I believe that in terms of the full context, it met just segments without any sound is not a fair and accurate, because what occurred, as she stated, was not in 5 minutes, it was over several minutes.
If it's a fair and accurate representation of what she saw. So you want those other pieces? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure I do, because she said they were not. I mean, I'm not sure that there is camera footage of other things that were occurring based on her testimony. So that
Right.
is what I'm saying.
Okay, I get that. But what Ms. Ball's testifying to is that what she provided is a fair and accurate representation of what she saw. Either be it in person or on video.
I understand that.
So why wouldn't that be admissible?
Again, I'm
I mean,
saying
you
that-
might, but hold on, Ms. Gaines, you
I
might
mean-
challenge that in some way, but why wouldn't it be admissible? And to the extent, it seems to me what you're arguing is the weight that the court should give it as opposed to whether or not it should be admitted.
I'm ready for your ruling, Your Honor.
Well,
You
I
know,
think you know where that's headed.
Yes,
Okay.
I've made my.
I note your objections. The
Thank you.
video is admitted,
Both of them, Your Honor?
both of the videos. Based upon. the
Hartwick,
testimony.
I have the video hooked up to my HDMI. Oh. Maybe I published it from like that,
Yes, sure. This is video one.
correct? Your Honor, may I publish video two?
You may.
Nothing further.
Cross-examination.
Nothing further, thank you.
All right, Ms. Wald, I just have one question. By the time they're outside, I see that the video is going up and down. You're manipulating where the camera is looking. Is that what's happening?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure that wasn't because of the moving or what you're saying, zooming forward. You were actually zeroed in on where they were. Okay, thank you. Any questions based upon the court's question?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down, Ms. Ball. Thank you. Any additional witnesses for the people?
No, Your Honor.
Any witnesses for the defense? You may.
No witnesses, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Motion.
Your Honor, at this time, people move to bind over on count 1 and count 2 to follow. We've heard testimony today from Sergeant Father about establishing that this did indeed occur on the late evening of June 9th into the early morning hours of June 10th, that this did occur at the venue on South First Street Live nightclub, that there was a domestic relationship as indicated by the defendant between himself and Tina Hansen. We saw from Layla Bell the entry of 2 videos today showing that the defendant put his hands on the victim, in this case, Miss Tina Hansen, both inside and outside of Live nightclub. At this time, I do believe that people have met their burden and moved to bind over on count 1.
Response.
Your Honor, we'd object to the bind over.
All right. The court having watched the video in this case, given all of the circumstances, the court's convinced actually there are 2 DV thirds that occurred. The first one occurring within Live, the bar itself inside, and the push at the, I'll call it the table area. That subsequent to that, the parties are actually separated. That event ends because the parties are separated by security. They walk away. There is another event that occurs, but certainly one could add that, and that's right outside of the initial, I think it's in the first video where there's then that push. But the parties are then separated. Those two events have ended at that point. There's then the walk down the street to what would be the corner, I guess it's really the north or the southwest corner in front of Live. Across the street over Huron, cross then over First, and then at that precise location where there is another event of domestic violence that occurs at the hands of this defendant against this same victim. The court, in its view of the video, views those as 2 separate incidents. So based upon the evidence presented to the court, I would bind the defendant over on count 1 of domestic violence third, count 2 of assault and battery, and an added count 3 of domestic violence third for that second incident that occurred at a later time against this same defendant. So therefore, the defendant is bound over on those 2 charges with count 2 actually follow.
Thank you for reading to it. I was going to move to add count 3. I appreciate it.
Yes. Skates.
Your Honor, we would anticipate an amended information at a later date. At this time, we would waive the reading on the record, and my client wishes to stay on mute until also have an opportunity to address bond.
Defendant having waived formal reading, standing mute as to all three charges. Court will enter that plea. Pretrial in this matter will be set
September 9th at 1:30 before Judge Slade Monday.
September 9th.
Yes.
September 9th, 2024, 1:30, Judge Slay Monday,
Yes.
Slay Monday. Sorry. As to bond.
She had written several emails to our office that I have provided to Ms. Barroso.
You said she's here?
She is here.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
In terms of the things that she's indicated in the documentation and has said to me directly, she says that these are exaggerated claims. She does not consider herself to have been assaulted. She says that Nyla was extremely intoxicated, upset and emotional over their domestic dispute and argument. And I was not. When he continuously asked for me to leave him alone, get away from him, and to stop touching and pulling on him. I continued anyways and invaded him, which led to him simply pushing me away from him because I was not respecting his statements to leave him alone and stop touching and pulling on him. She says that she continuously explained this to the officers and that she fell. That was all. She goes on to say that she was forced to go to the hospital because of her level of intoxication. With that, we're asking she also goes on to say, Joseph and I have known each other for at least 4 years and started our romantic relationship in the fall of 2023. Although the romantic relationship, we know each other very well from our years of friendship. We have a very healthy and great relationship, as she goes on to say. And aside from this one night where I drank extremely too much, this was simply a domestic dispute that is being made into something it wasn't by the prosecuting office. Your Honor, I don't know if you would want to hear further from her, but we would ask that the court consider reducing his bond to 10% bond, or in the alternative, no non-consensual contact, including that his phone privileges be reinstated.
Response.
Your Honor, the defendant is currently serving time for contempt with an estimated release date here, December 6th of 2024. So I don't think he's getting out before then, regardless of what his bond is in this case. That being said, when this occurred, he was on bond for FA, DB third, and drug charges. So I'm concerned about any reduction in bond in that regard. As far as the no contact in this case.
Excuse me one moment. Where's the contempt coming out of?
Here.
Here, that's what I thought. Yes. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is a reauthorization. The prior case, Ms. Hansen did not appear at exam and we were not in possession of the surveillance video. So we reauthorized it once we were in receipt of the surveillance video and we were able to proceed without her. I do want to note the reason his phone privileges are revoked is because before this case was reauthorized, he had contacted the victim in violation of the no contact order 205 times. So I do not think that modifying the no contact order is appropriate in this case.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Gaines? You can.
Mr. Taylor is indicating that in addition to that, he does also have children. One of his adult children is expecting, that the loss of phone privileges has not allowed him to have contact with her, his daughter, is that right? As well as his other children. He's also, it is also my understanding from reviewing the previous file, that Ms. Hanson contacted our office and indicated that she was requesting that he call her, and there were no, and she had no allegations of him in any way saying anything that was harmful to her, and that she would like to have this phone contact. And she's here.
If she wants to talk to me, that's fine. I mean, I'm ready to rule either way, but if she wants to say something. Right up to the podium. Go ahead. Your name, ma'am?
Tina Hansen.
All right, go ahead. What did you want to tell me?
Regarding the phone and having those privileges back, one, children being the most important, being able to speak to their father and be involved, especially with his grandchild on the way as well. The original claim that was made that he instructed me to do certain things that the prosecution had said that was done was incorrect. And that was why I think that maybe some emotions got brought up and the contempt sentence happened with the no.
Oh, I know exactly why the contempt happened. Because
Because,
he acted a fool in the court.
because what the
And
prosecution
disrespectful
was-
to not me, but this
Oh, yeah.
institution. That's why he got the contempt. That's not going anywhere.
No, I'm
But
saying
go ahead.
for my like the emotional standpoint, when they said that he instructed me to email them, which was false. And that had never happened. So being
But
able,
ma'am, even if it had,
even if it had,
he
it still
should
wouldn't,
have told his attorney and not acted that way.
Oh,
In
absolutely.
this court.
yes,
It's
no.
really as simple as that.
I'm not saying what was done was right at all by any means. I think that I would hope that he's learned his lesson from that, and to simply at least be able to talk to his children in the meantime, to at least have some sort of sanity during this process, and for them to be able to be a part of their dad's lives, even though they can't see him, is, I guess, my argument for trying to see if there's any consideration for that to happen.
So you're only up here to talk to me about the phone.
I could talk to you about everything if you wanted to.
Well, I don't know that you want to, ma'am, because I mean, if what Ms. Gaines read to me was your rendition of what occurred that night.
There was more that occurred that night that wasn't on video of me instigating and pulling, pushing.
Ma'am, I'm going to tell you what, and I really, people who are victims and survivors of I don't like to interrupt it, and I'd be more than happy to hear from you. But I'm going to tell you, it was real clear to me. I wouldn't care what you did. There was no reason for him ever to lay hands on you in that bar and push you. Never an excuse. I don't care what you did. And then once he's separated and people are trying to, I'm watching the security officers try to calm him down. And he's like some caged animal walking around with reference to you. I then see you come through the security because they talked to you before you did. He goes up to you. If you want to say he
Because they wouldn't
invaded,
let me
hold
go.
on a second. If you want to say you invaded his space, he had every opportunity to turn and leave. And instead, he pushes you. Now, ma'am, and please let me finish, because at that point, he could have been left He could have extracted himself out of that situation.
She tried.
No, he did not. Because I watched the two of you as you crossed Huron, you're talking to each other. Well, it doesn't, and you know what, ma'am? And I don't
wish
like
you
it where
sound to it.
particularly women get up here and they start saying, I said something, I did this, I did that. You cross Huron with him. You then cross First Street with him. You're there talking, and then he just decides to punch you in the face. There is nothing, unless you want to tell me something where you had some weapon pointed at his head that gives him justification to do that. I've had my say, so I will let you speak.
There is more to it. I understand where you're coming from, and you're seeing it a different way than I clearly lived through it and remember it very vividly. And I even told the police officers that night exactly what happened. I was never hit. The injury that they're
Ma'am, I'm watching your face. I'm watching your face go down.
No, my
You
whole
did-
body went down. I tripped. I was all over the place, Your Honor. I literally fell in the bathroom when I went to go throw up and busted my face on the toilet, but there's no cameras in there for that. I was extremely intoxicated. And as he's
are you
leaving,
telling
I'm
me-
following him.
Ma'am, are you telling me that on the corner of First and Huron, the last part of the video I see,
There's not a hit.
there's no,
I didn't see.
hold on. That he didn't swing at you?
Nope.
Oh, for God's sake.
I did not see that.
Okay, go ahead.
That's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
You may have a seat. Anything else from either side?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Anything else from the defense?
No, I have nothing further in terms of bond. I did want to say that Mr. Taylor did express great regret for previously in court. And I had forgotten to say that earlier. And he understands exactly why he has this.
And all I can say to you, Ms. Hanson, is God bless you. Because I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I don't care how drunk you were. I don't care how much in his grill you were and talking about whatever. I never saw you once take a swing at him. I never saw you once do anything that from that video that I could interpret as anything that was aggressive by any stretch of the imagination toward him that may even in some way give him some concept of that he was defending himself or that you were irritating him in some way so much. But it really, even if you were irritating him, the only thing that you're using is you two are actually walking together across two streets. I sat there and watched it. So I don't know what video you're looking at to come to the determination that you tell me. And ma'am, again, I'm not here to yell at any victim or survivor of any offense, but I'm here certainly to put forth the reality of what I saw on that video. And he pushed you in the bar. You're trying to get up. He pushes you. So security has to get in between. They try to separate him and he's still doing that. And then he tries to go after somebody else that's there. And then finally they get him outside and he still won't just calm down. And what's clear to me, ma'am, is after security's dealt with it, I think you're trying to get him to calm down, to do whatever you can to just alleviate the circumstance. And what's he do? He just pushes you against the building. I mean, not just push you against a building. I mean, he shoved you into a building and you go down. Then at some point, you guys are walking, you're walking, you wait to cross the street twice. There is no contact at that point. Apparently, the two of you are talking. If he wanted to get away from you, he could have gotten away from you. And then you get to the other side, which is kitty corner from live bar. You're standing there. And ma'am, if you want to tell me he didn't hit you, then fine. You can tell me that. I know what I saw. I know what I saw from the time he took the swing to then what your reaction is. You didn't trip. And, you know, like I said, God bless you, God help you. When a man raises his hand to you, you don't have to give him an excuse. He's just wrong. That's how it works. I don't believe, and I'm not going to reduce the defendant's bond. In fact, given what I've seen, I think that the defendant's bond isn't high enough. Given his conduct in this court and what I saw on that video, his bond is raised to $250,000 cash surety. I am not reinstating his phone privileges. And at this moment in time, unless the PD wants to file a motion, he's going to serve out his contempt. Defendant is, that's it. Thank you. I don't know what we're doing on yours. You probably do not want to talk to me right now, Mr. Bernstein. The court's going to stand in recess.